the days of the Reformation, in the early 1500s, the Anabaptists were perceived as a threat to society. That fear led to their displacement, resulting from persecution, conflict, violence, and human rights violations. The book documents nearly 1,200 martyrdoms, starting with New Testament accounts up to and throughout the 16th and the early 17th century. The Anabaptists' refusal to respond to violence with violence led to displacement and migration. Today, according to United Nations Refugee Agency UNHCR, there are more than 108 million forcibly displaced people around the world. Join me as we meet firsthand some of those people.
In Texas, I got an internship in an organization called Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid. So I've been really interested in working with immigrants for a long time. It's a job that I really think is important. There's a lot of need for this in America. We have huge rates of immigration to our country. Being able to use Spanish, we've been able to help people in some situations who have had these terrible things happen, including human trafficking. So that's been a really rewarding and hard part of the job. I feel like we're called to help others, and there's many ways to do this, but this was one of the ways I could help. I think it's definitely related to the teachings that I grew up with, being at a Mennonite church. I felt like I was instilled with certain ideas of duty, or that it's important to help others. Elizabeth and I got married just a couple months ago, and we're very excited to be able to both work in this area of immigration law. Elizabeth has entered law school, so she found a place here in Baltimore that she wants to study. Fortunately, there's a lot of immigration work that happens here in the capital area with Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. So I'm really excited to be able to go forward still working with immigration law. I think that I am woefully ignorant of the larger situation in many aspects. I really do need to learn more about the larger global situation.
We need people like Christopher and Elizabeth to walk with displaced people. Last year, more than 3 million people crossed the US-Mexican border, often back and forth with the hope of finding a new and better life. More than 6 million people fled Venezuela in recent history, making it the largest external migration crisis in Latin American history. Colombia is the largest recipient of this migration, welcoming over 2 million over its borders. The Mennonite Brethren Church in Colombia is working closely with Mennonite Central Committee to be a source of hope for hundreds of refugees.
In terms of achievements, we can consider the involvement of the Church in response to such a strong migratory phenomenon as an improving quality of life for many migrants.
When I came to this program, they really helped me with food and orientation. That has been a huge help for me and for my children.
The most difficult thing for me was getting to Cali. It took me 9 days because I had to walk to get here from Cucuta. I had no food or water, and I struggled with depression. My family did not know where I was during that time. They thought I had gone missing.
Letty and her husband Jordan live in the Marroquin neighborhood in Cali, and in very short time, they have experienced exponential growth with their ice cream sales and distribution business.
We bought another tricycle, and little by little, we grew more, and we were able to buy more tricycles. We bought another refrigerator, and now we have been able to help other families. Because we have more workers, it is no longer just the two of us.
Nuestra intención es
Our hope is for the program to be long-term and not just an emergency program. In other words, so that our focus can be more on participant sustainability in Colombia.
I'm realizing that the crisis is not limited to Central America. The Democratic Republic of Congo, for example, has 5.5 million who fled their homes in search of a better life.
For years, the DR Congo has been the scene of suffering and misery. Eastern DRC in particular struggles with multiple social, political, and security issues. June 2022, clashes in the province of North Kivu led to a crisis affecting more than 1 million people, most of them in and around Goma.
There are marginalized children who are stigmatized, confused, and traumatized.
I signed up as a volunteer to be in solidarity with refugees because life calls us to share.
I've come to show my compassion for the people, the displaced war victims who are suffering, so that I can come and support with smile.
One minute is all it takes now for me to get water. When we came, life was very hard. School for our children, the clinic. We are getting water without problem. Life has really changed.
The drilling project is important because water is life. God takes care of us not just spiritually, but physically as well. So this whole project revolves around people, so that those who've been displaced can live well.
Touched by what I hear from Congo, but also by the ongoing wars in the Middle East and also in Ukraine, I have traveled on a study trip to Lebanon where I met Kate and Gary.
Actually, most people are not migrating into Europe. Right now, Lebanon has the highest portion of refugees per capita in the Middle East. About 1 out of every 5 people in Lebanon is a refugee.
In Syria, we're in its 12th year of ongoing conflict with half the original population displaced. We have about 7 million internally displaced. This is still the highest number in the world. And really part of what MCC is trying to do is give opportunity and hope for people to stay.
Most important for us again, as people who have been displaced, is to trust each other and to be able to live together.
Many people transit through Turkey to arrive by boat on the Greek island of Lesbos to reach countries in Europe. The camp of Moria, which had received up to 22,000 refugees, burned down in 2021 and no longer exists. Today, the new camp Marovuni welcomes people from many countries, such as Ethiopia, Afghanistan, or Iraq, in much better conditions.
I'm here in Lesbos, Greece, and across the water from me is Turkey, where all of the refugees come from. They're coming across in a very difficult journey, often choosing bad weather and in small boats to avoid the authorities. But behind me, you can see the new camp where all of the refugees are at today. And since 2015, I-58 has had around 40 volunteers each month here from the US serving in Greece.
The refugees have taught me so much about the spirit of resilience and the ability to adapt to difficult and changing circumstances.
I believe that it would push me in a way to grow personally and also be able to serve those who have never experienced the gospel before.
I have learned what it means to be hospitable. They are some of the most giving people that I know. I have been challenged by them.
A service is organized for volunteers on Sunday mornings, and refugees who wish to come are warmly welcomed. I've realized that we have a lot to learn from each other. How about inviting some of the displaced people who live nearby over for a cup of tea or coffee?